I love the saying that, AI is not going to take your job, but a bookkeeper using AI will.
Welcome back to the new F Word podcast, where we talk finances in business. I'm your host, Colin Hewitt, founder and CEO at Float. We're so glad to be back for season 3. And this season, we've got some great guests that are going to bring a ton of value. We'll be diving further into how fractional CFOs add value, what financial clarity actually looks like, and what systems and apps are leading the way. New guests, sharper conversations. Let's get into it. Hey, Joe, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. I hear you're in sunny Newcastle today.
Yeah, it is really sunny. I've actually got a bit sunburnt from sitting outside of the hotel, and we had a couple of meetings this morning and we thought we'd enjoy the sunshine. Now I've just realised I got a bit burnt, but I didn't think about bringing my suntan lotion to Newcastle, if I'm honest.
It does, yeah. Even in Edinburgh, it's actually really nice today.
Nice.
But like we've known each other for a long time, so it's great to have you on the podcast. I think it'd be good for people who don't know you just to give a little bit of background as to what you're doing now with, you had Wood Virtual FD,
yeah,
and then you moved into Figure Bookkeeper and Hey Monika as well. So why don't you give us a little bit of the timeline of that?
Yeah, so I started Wood Virtual FD in April 2019, and it was meant to be, and is my final bookkeeping practice. And I say final because I'd had a bit of a bumpy ride of building bookkeeping practices and trying to make them successful around having 3 children and family, and lacking those business skills that I needed to run a business. I think sometimes when we get our accountancy and bookkeeping qualifications, we forget that we're actually in business. We talk about being in practice, and we forget that we need those other skills. So in 2020, I met with Zoe Whitman, and we started the Figure Bookkeeper, which was a community to talk about all things business, not the technical. There's loads of places where accountants and bookkeepers can chew the cud about the technical things that we love to talk about. But Zoe and I wanted to start talking and having the conversation about how do you build a brand? How do you market yourself? How do you have sales conversations? How do you price? All of the things that I've had to learn the hard way. I also said at the time that in my community, I was going to be building this practice in front of everybody, showing them what I was doing. But I was also going to get it to 6 figures because I didn't know another person running a 6-figure bookkeeping practice. Now, it's not all about the money. And, we have people that say, can you only be here in this community if you want to earn 6 figures? It's not about that. It's about what aspiration looks like for you. It may be working 2 days a week. It may be having all of the school holidays off and building a team or software that supports you. So we did that. When we actually started, I think I had 60 people in the Facebook group, and this weekend we have 28,000. So it has been growing steadily. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. And
20 and are they there's 28,000 bookkeepers.
Bookkeepers and accountants. I mean, we talk to bookkeepers, but everything we teach is relevant for both.
Yeah.
It's relevant for business, really, because we don't talk about the technical. Zoe's
and fractional CFOs, I presume, as well.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely. Anybody that is in this business, supporting businesses in their finances, and it doesn't matter really. We've got payroll bureaus in there and people that, are VAT specialists or, that specialise in just CIS. Anything like this, it's all about the business side. So I sold my practice. I got it to multi-6 figures and sold it in August 2023 because running both of the businesses was, kind of pulling on my time. But also the main reason was that I wanted to show other bookkeepers that bookkeeping practices could be sold and make money. Because again, sometimes if you don't have somebody that you can see do it themselves, you have to become that person. So I did that. I did sell my husband and my sister at the same time, and they're still very happy working in the practice, and still there supporting our clients. So it was been a really successful exit. And Zoe and I continue to build 6-figure and support people and making their bookkeeping practices run more profitably and give them more time and flexibility. And then we have this recurring theme in our community that it's really hard to get work experience if you don't already have some experience. You've got your qualifications, but you've never actually had a client. So firstly, how do you get a job? And if you can't get a job, how would you start a practice yourself? It's all, this chicken and egg situation. So we decided to start thinking about how would we solve this problem if you don't have people in offices and mentors. And to be fair, our ambassadors have been amazing mentors to our community, but there's only so many of them and everyone's got to run their own businesses. So we thought about how can we leverage software and AI, and now we are tech founders. And we launched Hey Monika. So Hey Monika is a AI coach, and you are in the platform given clients that are also AI, and you get the opportunity to work with them. You've won the client, you get a description, a video from the client about who they are, what they do, and then you work through a scenario to get to a specific point, which is maybe a completed trial balance, a self-assessment tax return, a VAT return. We've got some like AML scenarios, and we're building the scenarios as we speak. And it's been good fun. We launched in February, and we're building, and it's a full-time job outside of the full-time job.
Yeah, I'm sure. So you're still running the Six-Figure Bookkeeper and Hey Monika at the same time?
Yes, that's it.
Wow. And I think, the thing that we're both very aware of is that it feels like, bookkeep for getting that financial advice, the books are often the thing that if that's not done correctly, then it makes it so much harder for everything else to be built on. And still amazes me how many people don't see that.
They're running their businesses blind.
Yeah. And I think that the great thing about what you guys do is just help people to almost see themselves as more than just like doing the books, but actually like once you've got that, then what else can you do on top of it? So it really is the foundation of, I think, of like we see this fractional CFO kind of revolution happening where there's more and more people going into that as a role, and more of those people becoming accessible. But do you see what do you hear from? Is that relationship always like are the bookkeepers commenting much on that? Like, I've had a fractional CFO come in and they haven't really understood this, or like where do you see the potential tensions between those two? How do you see those two roles working, the FD role and the bookkeeper role working together? Do you think they should be one, or do you think they can be separate?
I think there are so many different personalities and different types of businesses, and all around trying to build and design a business that works for you is about the services that you want to offer. So for me, my bookkeeping practice focused very heavily on daily and weekly bookkeeping, but I wasn't doing that. My job was to be that fractional CFO and have the conversations about what that bookkeeping was showing and what the numbers were saying. And I was very comfortable to do that, but I knew that I had to focus on the bookkeeping first. So I think everybody should play to their strengths, but I do think that good bookkeepers have the ability to step into that role, but definitely be very well supported by a fractional CFO. And there should be an amazing, and like a compliance accountant, a year-end compliance accountant, there should be multiple touch points. So it's not about one person doing everything. I had a management accountant in my team. I had a payroll accountant. I have a compliance accountant. I want everyone to have their specialisms and their, where they're going to add the most value, because I think that is what really helps a small business, because you've got to get rid of the ego and realize you don't know it all.
Yeah. And did you niche into any sort of sector when you were doing your FD, or did you were you very general? How did that work?
No, I niched into salons, hair and beauty salons. I felt very aligned with them because I think they have a similar kind of rap to what bookkeepers have had as being seen as less than their peers. We've always what I'd always felt, I can't speak for everybody, but I do hear the same, that, bookkeepers are sometimes feel that they're not as good and as respected and as paid as well as accountants. And, as part of mine and Zoe's mission to raise the bar for bookkeepers. And when I started having conversations with other clients, potential clients and salon owners, and they were talking about how they were being spoken to by their accountants and how they felt stupid and they didn't understand what they were doing and they had fear around the numbers. I was like, I really want to help you out here. And I feel like they're really great business owners, but they weren't being educated or trusted with the information. So I felt like a real passion to help that industry. I mean, I picked that as well in 2019, and we all know what happened in 2020. So all of my clients were closed for a very long period of time. But I was able to really help them, and they all came out the other side. They all are. I think there's only one that's sold, but everyone else is still running. So I'm really, really happy and proud of that. Now, it didn't mean that they were the only clients I had, but they were who I was marketing to. That's who I was speaking to. That's who I was hanging around with when I went to events. I was going to those kind of salon industry events. But I did have I had sound engineers and gas engineers and different types of clients. I had one really cool client that used to he used to make massive games for teams of people. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So I very much was niching into the owners and the personalities and knowing whether we were going to get on and if I could really help them. But yes, when I was marketing, it was definitely to those salon owners.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, that makes so much sense in that you're then picking up shared collective wisdom of, how good salons operate. So you're building that extra experience rather than, I've got one tech company that I don't, but I haven't done that before, or I haven't seen, I haven't got experience in raising a Series A or, that kind of thing, versus in the in that area, you become the expert and, actually can add increasing value as you pick up new clients. Well, is it worth explaining? Because I think, again, we see the potential for bookkeepers and, like you say, accountants and the fractional CFOs to work together. What do you see as the kind of tech stack that enables that to be possible? How did you make technology work for you in that way?
So I think we need to think that technology and software can actually be a true resource. But if you're going to take on an apprentice, they're going to need time, effort, attention, managing. And I don't think people do that enough with the software that they bring in. So I think you need really great data capture, something with a great app, but also with my salons, they were on their phones all the time. They weren't opening up laptops. Those business owners, there was a desktop computer downstairs in the basement along with the tumble dryer, but they weren't sitting at a desk every day. They were on their phones. So, you got to meet your clients where they're at. And if you're working with builders and things like that, how are they going to be utilizing and capturing and, simple things like, do you just need to give them a plastic wallet that goes in the door of their van? How are you going to capture this? So you need a really great data capture tool that is going to analyze the data, pull it all out, and then I've always used Xero, love Xero as a cloud accounting software package. There's multiple data capture out there, but I think that relies on your budget and your what other things you want it to do. Some focus more on payments, so taking it through from invoice and getting things paid, and others are more on accuracy and automation and getting into the software. Then you obviously need to be making sure that your bank is up to date. But not just that. This is where you need a good bookkeeper accountant. It's not about just the bank balance. It's, about the accruals and the prepayments and the depreciation and the journals, and making sure that your data in your accounting software is accurate, because this is the starting point. Now, the beauty with working with a bookkeeper is that they can start recognizing patterns. They can start, I say to them all the time, I'm sure when you're doing that bank rec, you're seeing things and you're thinking, oh, that's strange. They've paid that late this time. I wonder why that is. Or, God, that's a bit more expensive than usual. And they tend to keep all this stuff internally. But if they started to have a chat about this stuff, that's where it turns into an interesting conversation where they could be saving money. We have some amazing stories where our bookkeepers have saved companies tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds just by picking up something and having a conversation with the business owner. Otherwise, it just goes unnoticed. We're there in the detail. Doing things like a direct debit review, like a compliance accountant might think that that's beneath them. Like at the end of the year, they haven't got time to do that. They just need to get the records right. But we have the time and ability to do that kind of real deep dive and say, do you know you're paying for, I know, like 3 of these subscriptions? They all kind of do the similar thing. So we can help save money, make sure we're capturing the costs correctly. And then the information is there, ready and accurate. It's not at the level of, you can do a quick like tax calculation, you can figure out where the VAT is at that time, you can look at what's the payroll costs going to be, which is all great for cash flow, obviously. Like, we know this stuff, so definitely bookkeepers can definitely follow through with doing the cash flow forecast. But then a CFO, maybe or fractional CFO, might come in and have just, it's really about confidence to hold the business owner accountable to what they want to do with this business. It's not really about the technical knowledge. It's just sitting down and asking the right questions, and you don't even have to know the right answers. So I would argue that bookkeepers have that capability, but they may choose not to do it, and that's absolutely fine. And then there may be a fractional CFO that doesn't want to make sure that the balance sheet is 100% correct before they report on things. They might want to get a bookkeeper or someone to support them. So again, I think it's about like staying in your zone. Where is your zone of genius? I used to have my team prepare the cash flow, and I'd go in and I'd still see things that they hadn't seen, but I enjoyed that. That was like teamwork. And then I'd be asking the questions to get the answers that I didn't know. I didn't know what they were going to be spending their money on, or I didn't know they'd been doing interviews for a new member of staff. I had to ask those questions so then we could build the forecast out together. But it's nothing to do with how to do a ratio or anything like that. I didn't have to learn this at college. I just have to know how to ask questions.
Yeah. And I suppose, so you got your data capture and you got your cash flow and your zero. What else are you using these days? What are you finding?
Well, I mean, now every day life is ChatGPT, making sure that I am using that as another asset in my business to, we were doing something in our community this week where we got really clear on that ideal client avatar. And then we were talking about the pain points that we'd heard them talk about. And then we asked ChatGPT to like act as a marketing executive, and knowing our ideal client avatar, what are those pain points, so we can use them in hooks, so that we can use them in our marketing. So, again, leveraging software to work for us, not becoming our voice, teaching it who we're talking to. So AI is obviously very important. I love things like Grammarly. I think that's underrated. I love, like, I think and look, I did go to grammar school. I got an A in English, but when I'm writing fast, I love that kind of, how can I speed up and then it will suggest, oh, why don't you write it like this? I'm like, oh, that sounds so much better. So I'm not afraid of utilizing tools. Fathom is like something I used to management reports. I really liked the management reports, and I used to create a management report and then video myself talking through the management report so I could send it as a loom on WhatsApp to my clients, because then they'd actually watch it. Trying to think what else. I think there are lots of tools out there that can help you with things like mileage, depending on the business. Are they traveling lots? How can you get this working? Things like that you use day to day. I was just talking to Zoe. I've got the train up here from Newcastle, and Zoe's been using it, and I started using Seatfrog, to bid on your first class. That's the kind of what we need to be talking to the business owners, like sharing that knowledge about the things that we're using. And that's the beauty of being in a community, is that we can hear about things before they're happening. I've seen a lot of tools recently that are talking. I think there's one called AdSum that does balance sheet reconciliation, and then kind of provides you with those like working papers, but on a monthly basis. And for me, teaching my bookkeepers how to get those accounts like just spot on, and having third party evidence every single month just would make me so happy. I think this is my auditing background comes through. That's why maybe my bookkeeping was maybe a bit different to other people, but I was so focused on getting everything accurate. But it really does help when you're looking to the future. When you don't have a crystal ball, you've got to, like, the past helps you to look forward. And if that past is wrong, then you're going to completely misjudge it.
Yeah. And are you, what about practice management? Do you use any of those, like the Carbons or the,
Engager?
what are the other ones?
Yeah,
Engager, yeah.
So I was actually using Xero Practice Manager when I sold, but I sold to the owner of Engager. So funny enough, they've moved over to Engager.
All right.
My husband uses that, and he likes that. I think practice management is an interesting one. We've just been working with Taxstone. They're from America, and they are doing amazingly over there, and they've started to get some practices over here, and we're helping them to get their brand out. And what we've seen there, their name is wrong for what they do. And I think that's what me and Zoe was like, oh, we'd have never looked at Taxstone because we don't do tax, but actually it's a practice management system. They've got like 10,000 practices in across the world. And the functionality there is amazing. So I think you need to have some kind of practice management. You need to have some kind of overview, a quick, analysis of where a job's at, what needs my attention, how are we doing with the latest VAT returns, all of those things. And I think Xero Practice Manager is having a real uplift at the moment. So that's exciting, because I think we all want to have a source of truth and not have to move around too much. I don't know about you, but I have a million tabs open most of the time. So it's nice to be able to have something under one roof. But also, I do believe that everyone needs to be the best at what they are. And sometimes when a product tries to be everything to everyone, then it loses some of that. In terms of,
hey, Monika, like, what's the end goal for that? Have you guys got a plan for, like, is it just, is there an exit strategy, or do you feel like it's an experiment, or you'll see where it goes? I
feel like we're on The Apprentice at the moment, and we were scratching around.
There's no right idea. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good fun. And there's a couple of things that have surprised me. Firstly, when the first time someone said, oh, so you're now a tech founder, I was like, what? No. And they're like, well, you've released tech. I'm like, oh, yeah, but that's not what I am. And then being at the beginning of a business in that unknown space and not having all the answers, I think is great for me to feel that again, because I think when you're supporting a community, and we've been running this for 5 years now, it feels more comfortable. I know what I'm doing. We have systems and processes, and we know how this machine runs. So being thrown into something completely new, Zoe said the other day, let's start like going live in our meetings and let's just like build in public. And I'm like, what? I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. And like, we say some silly things and it's hilarious, but actually I think people are quite, especially with what we're teaching, is like what the product does. It helps people with their confidence around something that's new. So I think it kind of helps us to get in tune with our customers. We definitely have seen that this is an issue in our industry and felt that nobody else was going to deal with it. And also I think we have been needed to be there to prove the concept that actually it's needed, it's wanted, and people will pay for it, because we can all have great ideas and think about a solution, and then that could be tumbleweed and no one wants to actually put money where the mouth is. So I think we will continue doing that. Our issue at the moment, if we're really honest, is that we have the audience, we can sell mostly quicker than we can build, because we're bootstrapping it. We're not looking for any investment. We are building as we sell. But we want to do a good job. And then one day we will exit when somebody that has the correct ethos, mindset, the skills, and a big development team can say, we can do this quicker, faster, support more people. That will be it. We're not, we are trying to prove that this is so valuable and so needed. We had someone come up to us, Accountex, like she was crying. She was like, you do not realize what you're doing for me. And we're like, it's still like so early days, and we've got, I think that's hard, putting something out into the world that's not perfect yet. And I think software is a completely different beast to when you're putting out a course or a podcast. People can break it. Whereas if you say something and do something, people can't really break that. They can have an opinion. But it's a very different kettle of fish, and it's good to be on that learning journey again.
Yeah. No, 100%. Well, obviously that resonates in terms of, we've been building Float for, 13 years now, and it's like, you still look, I look back to some of the early sketches and think there's still some stuff like, we haven't released yet that we know we want to release, or stuff we want to do better. And there will always be more to do. It's never, I used to think I wish I could just pause the clock for 6 months and then build all the stuff and then release it. And, actually it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't, no.
There's always more, and the world is moving on at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. What would we do? We'd be bored otherwise.
Yeah. No, it's great. I think it's really good. And in terms of that person who came up to you, was that what was the impact? Was it confidence? Was it just confidence in her abilities as a bookkeeper?
I think it was like the opportunity to try out her skill set in a safe space, and to complete a scenario, and whatever her percentage was, we're working towards getting things CPD accredited so that people can build up a portfolio and say, this is what, these are the different scenarios I've worked on. But I think it's just, when you want to pass an exam and you've got like mock exams, if you never had mock exams, you'd be really like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? So, and I remember getting my first clients and thinking, well, I'll do it for, I'll do my mum's books, or I'll do my neighbour's books, and trying to find these safe people that if I messed it up, they would still love me. So to be able to have this kind of environment to just try this out, because not everybody's got a network around them of entrepreneurs that want to give them a set of, books and tax returns and VAT returns. Not everyone has that. So that is such a big jump of confidence to go from, I've got this exam. We know it's like school. School doesn't prepare you. This is why apprenticeships are like doing amazing. I've got 3 kids and 2 of them have gone into apprenticeships, because you need to try real life examples. And in a world where lots of people are working from home and work doesn't work, we find for a lot of women, it's not working around, they end up starting businesses, but who's going to mentor you there without costing you a fortune?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I was speaking to Laura Linden on the podcast. I don't know if you know her, Feisty FD.
Okay.
And she was saying something similar, where just, it's almost like there's something with maybe men are a bit more able to blag. Like they blag the language, and there's something about, the finance is a language, and the more confidence you get in it, it's like going to another country and you speak it fluently. But she felt that that's what she was kind of doing with she works with a lot of female-owned businesses and just empowering them to understand the language of finance. So similar to what you're saying, just it's a confidence thing. And also, you know, I don't come from a finance background either, so I get it. You know, like there's lots of terms out there that you can be speaking to and feel like, oh, am I stupid? I don't know why this is, you know, this doesn't make sense to me, or what's the balance sheet balancing, or what's the trial balance do, or, you know, all the language. It makes sense, but it's just putting it together in a way that I think once you have that confidence to sort of come to the table, I can see it makes a huge difference.
You're so right. It is about confidence. I said this to Zoe, that we talked about the seat frog thing, and I got myself a first class ticket and I upgraded. It was 27 quid, right? It's not like hundreds of thousands of pounds. It was 27 quid to get my upgrade. And I was the only female passenger in the first 2 carriages of first class. And I said to Zoe, I'm sorry, but this is like, we don't feel like we deserve a seat at the table. I said it to my friends, even in my friendship group. I was like, oh, here I am with I've got my little Rogan Josh curry and a glass of a drink, and you know, I'm on first. And they're so, you're so bougie. I'm like, it was £27, girls. It's not. It's there for you as well. But why do we not see it? And that is a female thing. I'm not blaming guys. I'm not saying this is an internal thing. We don't think we can sit and have a conversation with a business owner because we believe they are somehow better than us, and we shouldn't be talking to people and asking them about their finances, because who do we think we are? That's what is internally going on, and that's what we're trying to solve. So I think bookkeepers may not have every answer to every financial question out there, but if they were to just start asking questions and holding the business owners accountable to what they wanted, you don't even have to, it's not your job to do the sales campaigns and launch the next product. You just need to say, how many are you thinking of selling? Okay, we'll come back next week and see how you're doing. That's a confidence thing. It's not a knowledge thing.
Yes. And obviously, you know, this is stuff that's, you know, I'm learning. Do you feel like something Laura said as well, which was, you know, often men and women have different attitudes to risk, she notices when she's working with female businesses. So there's just almost like, you know, I don't know why that is, but, you know, she says she's noticed that's it's a stereotype, but that tends to be, I mean, have you seen that as well?
100%. 100%. You know, I remember a time, you know, I've had 3 children, and I remember a time that my dad said to me, come up to London, I've got this event going on. And I was like, I can't get on a train, I'm feeding a baby. Like, nature is like, if I go, it's like I've removed the fridge from my house. Like, how is my baby going to eat? That is what's going on maternally with us. And so then when, like, Zoe's here today, but we came up a day late because there was a sports day on. And she's like, it's a non-negotiable. I'm not leaving. Our hormones are different, and our body is being run on a completely different system. And it doesn't mean it's good or bad. Risk, you know, even between me and Zoe, like Zoe's more risk adverse than I am. Like, everybody's different. And I think, and it's all okay. And it all has, like, having an empathetic finance director who understands the family situation and wants you to, like, be there. So let's build a business that means that you could be more, like, that's a great asset. But also having someone that's like, let's take a risk and see what happens. That's great. So, you know, I think we need a bit of, I don't think there's right or wrong. I just think I wish that women didn't see what they have as a negative and reduce their confidence about it. I think they should go into it, like, and be more. It's funny, actually, talk about this. I had a coach once, and when I started, like, to build the business, I kept doing things and feeling like stepping into my masculine energy rather than feeling that I could. So there was one opportunity I was asked to speak at the ICB, and I remember I bought, like, a waistcoat and trousers, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to kill it on stage. And she said, why did you choose to wear that? And I was like, that's really interesting. I don't know. And then she was like, but what would happen if you step more into your feminine? What would happen? I'm like, oh, I don't know. And I think me and Zoe have been experimenting and trying, like, how do you be, because it is something you've just grown up with. You see women with money and power in the Disney films are the evil stepmothers. That's what we've been brought up with. So, but we think of that. You don't see the nice fairy princesses. They're scrubbing the floors. So yeah, I think this is like undoing years of Disney trauma, and trying to like think that we can. I'm not saying we can have it all, but I'm saying we don't have to become something. And actually, what we do have is actually really valuable to another business owner. And maybe they can get their like risk energy from someone else, and that's fine.
Yeah, no, I think that makes so much sense. I'm sure, like you say, that this is going to impact just the confidence of people to be empowered in like, yeah, realizing that everybody can have a helpful voice in whether it's in just highlighting something in the numbers or noticing, saying, yeah, this is what I notice when I look at your business, and you might get a different perspective from somebody else, but actually, yeah, who's to say that it's only to come from one person,
Absolutely.
I was doing a leader.
And this is the beauty of the kind of that mid-sized business that doesn't need to have an in-house like full-time person. Actually, I think this is a beautiful place to be where you can pull on different people for part-time resource that are working with other businesses as well, because they're bringing to you a knowledge of having like conversations with other business owners. So I don't think it needs to be that you need this full-time in-house team before you can start thinking about having a finance director. Like, this is the beauty of having subcontracted expertise in your business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I guess in terms of where do you see, there's been a bit of chat about bookkeeping becoming automated out through AI, and I think there's already there's some tools on the market, like, is it Genesis, or I don't know if you've seen that one. What are your thoughts on that?
As a bookkeeper that does her own bookkeeping with software and using automation, I'm still needed to have the view and the understanding, and but I think our role will change, of course, but it for the positive. Do you remember when the computer came in? Like, people used to think like they won't need our brains anymore. Like, we're still going to need it. We just need to adapt. I love the saying that, AI is not going to take your job, but a bookkeeper using AI will. So I'm hoping that it will make people have more flexible, profitable businesses, but they need to embrace it. They need to embrace it and think, okay, where is this going to add value? What areas in my business can I automate and streamline and make a better client experience? I think if you're focusing always on the outcomes of the client, but if you want to hide away and you have been spending your time writing out in a ledger book, yeah, that job's gone. Like, it's not going to be there anymore. But also we've got to remember, we've got like this big gap between like AI automation and streamlining everything. And then we have HMRC that we have to go on the phone to and have a conversation and unpick things there. Like, there's such a range, and our clients they need support. Sometimes, recently I had someone that was like, oh my goodness, I've been sent a check. How am I going to deal with this? So there was still people, I think we did think that there's only like 40% of people have bank feeds connected, and there's still such a massive way to go. There was a conversation at the Xero stand, Accountex, and this person came over and said, can Xero help me? I've got 500 VAT return clients. They're all on spreadsheet. Like, I think we are in an echo chamber, Colin, and we believe that the robots are coming. But there are a lot of people that haven't realised that cloud accounting's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think, and I think we'll just there'll mostly be just a bigger and bigger and bigger gap between those people. And then there'll be the people that think, well, if this is so easy, I'll do it myself. And then realise that actually they're not set up to do MTD, quarterly returns and final submissions themselves. And then they'll get massive. I had it with a client of mine the other day. He accidentally thought he was due like 28 grand. He was an ex-client of mine, 28 grand rebate. He'd never had that working with me, funny enough. He thought he was quids in, like Joe was doing it all wrong. And then he's like, tail between his legs, he's like, oh, I need to pay this money back. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, it's all right, I'm not asking you to do it. I was like, well, I'm not doing it anyway. But he was like, I did think it was a lot easier than what it is. So
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's like, we always say it's like the advent of the washing machine. It didn't mean that, we certainly just hanging out, going on holiday now, that something's doing our laundry for us. It's like, hopefully, bank rec becomes, easier and easier. But like, I think you're right. Just the ability then to jump into the next thing, like have a look at your cash flow, or, here's a management report, and actually get into some of those more, like, who else, let me connect you with this other person that I work with who's a incredible, like, fractional CFO for fundraising, or for modeling,
what's coming up for
like
you?
a 3-year plan.
Do you know, that's it. You said exactly that, Colin. I see bookkeepers stepping into the massive gap that's being missed by bank managers. They've gone, and there's no one filled that gap. I think for, the way that we're people, like we love people, we're listening, we are understanding, we want to help. We'll just become those like amazing business advocates and like connect people with other people and say, this person can help you. That's how I think our role will evolve. But by looking at the numbers, we'll see what they need and then holding them accountable. Because, I don't know, people are still in therapy. People are still need coaches and accountability all the time. We can do that because we have the right skill set for that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think, we're living in a different age now with people like yourself, like being able to build software companies without any external financing. Whenever we started, it was all about, where you're raising your angel round, and then your seed round, and then your venture capital. And it was very much like you're not even going to compete unless you have external funding. Whereas now, so many businesses are able to get off the ground without, and they're not even thinking like that. Like, they're thinking more like you guys, which is like, let's bootstrap this, and do it with less people, because we've got more resources available to us. So I think that's a big change. But the opportunity to save businesses money, like look where you're paying extra for subscriptions, or look what you could be getting if you moved into this bank account. You could be getting 4% interest on this money, and that's worth a huge amount. Or repaying a loan early, or, there's just so many ways that, somebody can come in with a sort of different perspective and add a huge amount of value.
Absolutely. It's a bit like that gap that we have, like when we leave school and we don't have that financial education, and then you have to learn along the way by going to a mortgage broker and find out about, life insurance and things like that. A bookkeeper can really help with that financial education for business. I think we underestimate the knowledge we have, and we assume everyone has that knowledge. But I know by speaking with business owners, they don't. And the conversation I heard about Richard Branson, like not understanding the difference between gross and net after he was a billionaire. He was like, I just wish someone would explain it to me. He's kind of given me permission to say, I can have this conversation more openly. And actually, when you do, people love it. And if they know it, they're like, oh yeah, I get that. But they don't think, oh my goodness, you're so condescending. They're like, oh yeah, I know that. Woo! Let's carry on.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's an exciting time. And I think, sort of maybe final question, if we get a lot of fractional CFOs that come to us, and what if they're listening to this and going like, oh, I wish I had a bookkeeper, like we go into businesses and the bookkeeper has been there for a long time and they're not tech savvy, they're doing things a certain way, and I can't get them to kind of move into this new world. Like, if people are looking for bookkeepers, where would you point them? Do you point them to the six-figure bookkeeper community, or is there other places? Because there's a bit of a shortage. I've heard of good bookkeepers at the moment.
Yeah, no, there's not a shortage. There's a lack of good working opportunities, but for subcontracted bookkeepers. So on our website, we have a section for Find a Bookkeeper, and we have a group called Find a Bookkeeper UK as well. But yeah, on our website, you can find some of our listed bookkeepers. And I think it's a case of like realizing what it is that you want to achieve and being really clear. What we speak to bookkeepers about is like, knowing what software you want to work with, knowing where you want to take the records to. Some of our bookkeepers just get to bank rec and stop and don't do any of the month end stuff. And, that might work for someone that's a fractional CFO, because they might be like, oh, okay, I want to do all those adjustments. I don't want you touching that. Like having that open conversation and like really setting out those where a job starts and where a job finishes. I think this is, I see it in like networking communities where they might have a bookkeeper and an accountant and a management accountant all in the same room. It's about like, okay, where do you sit? What do you do? Because actually, all of you could do everything, most probably, to a good degree of accuracy and get by. But actually, where does your job finish and someone else's start? But I think if like the bookkeeping, the detail, the repetitiveness is not for you as a fractional CFO, like it wasn't for me. After, I've done a couple of decades of doing that, I chose to, I wanted to move out. Then find someone that's going to do it for you, but then maybe come up with the list together. Like, what is this month-end checklist? Am I expecting? Where am I passing on the baton? And what's the aim of the game? And then, but if you have someone in the team that's not doing that, then that's down to the CFO to go and speak to the business owner and say, what are your goals? I need to be reporting on those goals and helping you with some KPIs. It's not going to work in this way. There's another way of doing this, but they don't know what they don't know. They're not trying to cause you more mayhem. They just don't realize there's another way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Great points. Well, look, thanks so much. It's been so great to chat, and really wish you all the best with Hey Monika and all the things that you're doing to empower that whole next generation. Is really, really exciting. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Colin. It's been lovely to catch up again. And I can't wait to see what you do with Float next.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The New F Word. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, expert financial advice shouldn't be limited to those with just big budgets. You can access the same level of advice for a fraction of the costs thanks to this fractional revolution. I believe that every growing business needs to know how much a game changer this can be. So if you loved the episode, please consider subscribing to the show. It'll help us keep doing what we're passionate about, and feel free to share this episode with others who might find it useful. Finally, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. See you in the next one.